Inner Guardian's metaphysical personal protection. That's another way of saying non-physical personal protection. Okay, so what I'm going to share now is a fraction of the information or the knowledge, but it's a gateway into being able to obtain the knowledge and a particular way of thinking, which is based on first principles, the Trivium, Quadrivium, and the 7 liberal arts. And there'll be other various bits and pieces in there. I may skip a few slides, but feel free to interject or to ask any questions as I'm going through any of the slides. If for whatever reason I don't feel it's good to do that, then I'll say so, and I'll sort of press on, because it might.
If we interrupt too much, please tell us, mate, because we do interrupt too much.
Right. Okay. So have you got? There's going to be a delay, I guess.
No, the delay's gone, mate. I think the delay's gone. You just switched to personal protection, and that's what we're seeing on the screen.
Okay, so this is kind of like an introduction, yeah? So personal protection is not an abstract subject, but it is in all and everything we do. A lot of people seem to think that personal protection is just kind of martial arts or self-defense or something like that. Well, actually, everything is personal protection, food, home, relationships, finances, health, and etc. We call it a full spectrum personal protection. Personal protection is the first principle for human existence. Okay, so if you think about it, if you don't apply any protection to anything, then nothing can really exist, because it will just be taken away or lost. Okay, so some people get stuck on the words personal protection. I've stuck with it because for me, everything is personal protection. It's not a negative thing. It's actually a way of getting peace and prosperity. Okay, so starting off with the first principles. Okay, so this is a philosophy or a way of processing information. So first principles: do not debate anything until first principles have been established. The education that we are taught is not designed to help us, but only to serve an agenda. Okay, so I think we can all testify, and we've had direct, real experience of this in 2020. For me, 2020 was the year where, like, everything has been exposed. The veil has been dropped. All the doors have been opened, and everybody can see, well, kind of see what's going on. Okay, so we often get into debates, or if you look at the media, they actually debate amongst themselves using illogical fallacies and hearsay and God knows what else. We're told, like, the situation that we're in is because of some creature in a wet market or whatever. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that's primarily because first principles have not been established. So, for instance, what is the origin of this thing that has been released into the world? We don't know. You know, is it germ theory? Is it terrain theory? So on and so forth. Okay, so
many variables that are there to confuse us.
Yeah, and that's deliberate. Okay, so it's not just about this subject, it's about every subject. Even if you look at things like magnets, gravity, the shape of the earth, there's no first principles. We can debate forever and nothing will ever get solved. Now, I often say to people, if you look at the last 30 years, tell me something that's been fixed. You know, think about it. Think of all the money, all the resources, all the education.
Poverty, racism.
I'd say everything's got worse.
Inequality.
Exactly.
Nothing's been fixed.
I'd say it's got worse, Lee.
Yeah, so those that are in control and those that have the power, they present themselves as problem solvers, when in actual fact, they are the creators of problems, okay? And they don't offer any solutions. It just goes on and on and on and on. There's no end to it. It's and that's primarily because, well, there's no first principles and not established. Okay, so I'll move on to the next slide. So that brings us to the Trivium. Now, I recommend everybody becomes familiar with the Trivium. Okay, now I believe this slide was taken from Mark Passio. Okay, so Mark Passio gives a very good description of the Trivium. Is probably a good person to listen to. I think Andy, you've
I'm an avid student of Mark Passio. Yeah, he's my go-to for anything occult.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah,
He puts it in the plainest.
Yeah, he's very good at communicating the esoteric and the occulted stuff. So I recommend him as, if you want to go on YouTube and find out more about the Trivium. Literally tonight, I'm just going to be kind of just provoking people.
Yeah, we appreciate you're going to be skimming the surface rather than doing any particular aspect of this full justice. It's a massive thing at the end of the day, as we all appreciate.
Yeah. So in simplistic terms, the Trivium, it's input, processing, output. Okay. The what, the why, and the how. Now, if you look at going back to first principles that have not been established, and we're living in a world where there's just confusion, contradiction, nothing makes sense. Okay, now this has really hit like a peak in 2020. Now, and this is where I personally drew a line in the sand that if you can't see the contradictions, the illogical fallacies, and the ridiculous nature of our supposed reality, then there's possibly no hope for you. Okay. Last year I tried my best to speak to people. I got into debates with people, arguments, fights, blocking, unfriending, so on and so forth. When it comes to the end of 2020, I literally got to the end of my tether and realized, look, if people haven't realized now, I'm not sure if they're ever going to figure stuff out. Okay.
Hey, mate, I can echo that. What is it? 3 or 4 streams ago, I went through that big post I put on Facebook. I said I've literally had enough. I made 2 videos about it. I said, I'm not going to be going into extreme detail anymore, holding people's hands, wiping people's asses. If you haven't got the general gist of what's happening, probably too late.
Yeah, and we have to prepare ourselves for that. That there possibly will be a divide. I don't particularly predict that there's going to be some amazing kind of new reality. I think reality is going to be there's a schism. There's going to be a split. There's going to be 2 camps. There's a line in the sand, and basically the dividing line will be those that understand first principles of Trivium, Quadrivium, basically how to process information, and those that don't want to, or have sold out, or they're NPCs. And I think that's basically that's the line in the sand. Now, with regards to the Great Reset and this new reality that they're meant to be imagining into reality, they've actually factored in that not everybody will comply. So the good news is there is a small margin where they're going to allow certain percentages of the population just to do their own thing. Now, if you look historically, in more or less every continent, there was a war against the indigenous people, against colonialism. Yeah. So I don't know how much anybody knows about history, but
Haiti would be the best example of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all the Americas, Australia, Africa. Now, I would suggest that the indigenous people live their lives pretty much left alone from this kind of imperial denying force, and there was a war put against them because they wanted to eradicate. I'm pretty sure that these people understood the Trivium, possibly in a different way, but it's basically the same thing. It's the ability to have knowledge, understanding, or inner standing, and wisdom. Okay, so if you look at these ancient traditions,
inner standing, please, right? Just expand on what that bomb that you just dropped there, right? Because Rastafari talk about Kedawami and Rodan Imperial will say, oh, Rastafari talk about the overstanding. Don't understand. Don't stand under the person giving you the knowledge. Overstand them. So that's what the Rastafari say. But you actually have taken it, in my opinion, one step further with inner standing.
The inner guardians, you see, everything is within, as within, so without. So if you want to change the outside, you have to change the inside. We kind of know this.
So below.
Yeah, we kind of know this, but it's kind of romanticized, But
it's easier said than done.
Yeah, the hard reality is that you have to look within. Okay, if you want to fix an external problem, you have to look within. Now, the Trivium is basically a method of finding solutions. So, as an example, if you look on the left-hand side, the first bit, and this is kind of modern speak: input, processing, output. So as an example, everybody understands how computers work. You input information, the computer processes, and then there's an output. Well, get inside your body, okay? You are an amazing piece of biotech, far beyond any PC or piece of technology.
Anything Lord Schwab is going to make, anything Lord Schwab or Chancellor Gates is going to make out of that nanotech, we are far superior to that.
Exactly, yeah. And they're actually using us through various methods, mainly social media, to gather information and understanding to a degree, to load up onto the machines or the technology. So we've been harvested for our inner qualities, not inequalities, but inner qualities.
Whoa, harvested for our inner qualities.
Yeah, we're being monitored.
Our emotions, our opinions, our
it's just the way you put that, Lee. Harvested for your inner qualities.
Mate, I'm just looking at the comment section. I'm trying to put as much on the screen. Everyone is like, Lee, you are literally stapling together this pastiche or this
tapestry.
Thank you, industry. This tapestry we've been weaving for 16 shows. You are literally getting a massive industrial-sized staple gun and just going, badoosh, badoosh. Well, please continue.
The thing is, we're in an absolute mess, shit show. Okay, and it's reached. Well, I wouldn't say it's peaked yet, but we're getting close to the critical mass from 2020, where this is almost kind of this is going to be food for a lot of people because they've been denied from the day they're born. They've been denied the knowledge in order to navigate through life, and the first principles have been taken away. We've just been filled with contradictions. I did very badly at school, and I'm a very smart person, but I did very badly at school, primarily because for me, my education didn't make any sense. And what I mean by that is I was never taught any critical thinking. I was just taught how to remember things. So, for instance, in the morning, they would tell me that evolution was fact. Then the next lesson would be a religious lesson where they told me that God created whatever.
They talk at you.
Yeah, and then the next lesson would teach me about science, where it spoke about evolution. And then the next lesson, and so on and so forth. And it all contradicted it, but they told me it as fact. They told me what was at the center of the earth. They told me that we're spinning at a certain speed around the sun or whatever. But I didn't feel like I experienced it. So I spend most of my time staring out the window. Literally looking out the window. I started, daydreaming to try and escape the bullshit. I was a very difficult student. I used to ask the teacher a lot of questions that they couldn't answer. And they
big comment on the screen right there. Sorry to interrupt you there. I love this. Knowledge is a tool. It is your will, and intent is intent that changes things. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we'll be moving on to that. Now, with the Trivium and the Quadrivium, everybody's going to identify to a particular part of it more than other bits. So, for instance, grammar may not mean anything to some, but grammar may mean a lot to others. So, for instance, if you're a speaker, or if you're into making music or singing and so on and so forth, the grammar side of things, you're going to understand the power of words. And, you can kill with words. You can heal with words. You can do so many things with words. So if you look at the left-hand column where it says input, underneath it says grammar and knowledge. So, for instance, I'm pretty sure, Lance, you understand grammar and you understand the importance for you, with your work that you do.
Yeah.
And as we move on, everybody will kind of identify with different parts. But what we've got to try and do,
grammar is the basis for our language. It's how we construct our language. It's how we communicate. Like everyone's seen those memes about how grammar, you can write the same words 3 or 4 different times in a straight line. You can change the grammar, and you can utterly change the complete meaning of the sentence. Not just change it slightly, literally change the meaning of the sentence fundamentally. So that's how important grammar is to me. Sorry, you meant to do a little personal rabbit hole there.
Yeah, and this is also a weapon. It's being used against us. So if you look at a lot of the talking heads in terms of the mainstream media, they're pretty much talking a lot of nonsense, and they're using a lot of word salad. And if you understand the esoteric side of grammar, then you can. When I watch the news, the information I receive is completely different to somebody that doesn't understand.
No shit. I bet it is, mate. I thought I decoded the news differently. I bet you watch it just like the Terminator in just inhaling the pure data. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Has anyone said you're like Neo from Morpheus from the Matrix before? Because that's been in the comment section.
No, not really.
What an amazing compliment, mate.
I heard somebody say, I can't remember who, but they said, I watch the mainstream news, so you don't have to. So basically, they translate it, and that's somebody with the Trivium can do that. They can sit and watch a movie and basically translate the esoteric meaning and take out of the truth and disseminate it. The same with like the news. I can watch the news and I know exactly, not by what they say, but by what they don't say, or they might say in a certain particular way, using particular words, and using NLP and hypnosis.
Much in the same way as different people could read the Bible differently. A Christian in a church reads the Bible differently to a vicar, reads the Bible differently to a low-level Freemason, reads the Bible differently to an adept or an actual initiate of occult and esoteric knowledge. So we're talking about like it's not so much compartmentalized knowledge. It's actually different stratuses or layers of understanding stacked on top of each other. Yeah,
well, you just reminded me of something. Now, I don't know whether the audience are familiar with the affidavits. It's become quite popular in 2020 with regards to statements of truth or statements of fact.
Not so much a thing in the UK, but in the US legal sphere, an affidavit is much more prominent. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it's getting more popular here now. Basically, it's a statement of fact. Okay, so that would be the equivalent of a first principle. Now, I've taken on various authorities, and I'm able to defeat them quite easily. Why? Because I don't go into contract with them. I go in there with first principles, and I go in there using the Trivium. So I've already figured out the input. I know how it's going to process, and I get the output. I get the outcome. I get the solution that I'm looking for. Okay, so that's just like a small example of how the Trivium can be used. You definitely need to use this when you're coming up against any type of authority.
Mate, I've seen you do it in a Facebook comment section where people have been, as you say, playing ping pong in the dark for 100 comments deep about one aspect of this plan demonemic or whatever it is. And you've literally come in and said, listen, until someone's talking about virology, about death rates, about PCR tests, whatever, and you've literally just sliced in like a razor blade and said, guys, until you've established first principles about whether this virus has ever been isolated, what the origins of it are, what the true nature of it is, everyone is playing ping pong in the dark. And in that comment section, I had people that were health professionals. I had people that were scientists, not in the health profession. I had other professionals, and I had conspiracy theorists, and I had absolute deniers. And you literally sliced through it all. Until first principles are proven and established, everyone is just playing ping pong in the dark. And there's no other better way to put it, mate.
Yeah, and this is a method of how you can glitch. You can basically glitch the system, glitch reality. Basically, you put a slice right through the veil. Okay, so reality has a veil in front of it, and there's all sorts of trickery used to prop up this veil. But it's very easy to take down. Now, studying the esoteric and the occult is all about taking down the veil, so you can actually get to grips with the real reality.
And that's a Freemasonic term as well, lifting the veil. That happens in various different levels of initiation and ceremonies. That's a common theme.
Well, the problem is certain factions will lift the veil or bring down a veil for nefarious reasons, service to self. That's the easiest way to decipher whether something is good or bad. Is it service to self, or is it service to self and others? It's very easy to tell the difference. So I use that.
Or the right hand path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, I'm going to move on, but just before I do, when you get into any situation, any problem, any debate, whatever, quite often what will happen is people will come in using the output instead of starting at the input. It's very important that it's done 1, 2, 3, and you'll find when you debate people, they really don't like it because basically you're pulling them back to first principles. Okay,
I've seen this happen in real time. It breaks down their discussion. It breaks down their rhetoric because you're actually applying the trivium correctly.
Yeah, basically, what modern education, what the authorities are trying to do, they're trying to basically turn everything upside down and crucify you. Okay, which is another term that is used. So basically, they go 3, 2, 1 rather than 1, 2, 3. So they, you quite often see that these organizations will
an inversion.
Inversion. Yeah, they pretend that they're solving problems when in actual fact they're the origins of the problems. I mean, I can remember, being told that I need to drive a diesel car. Now I'm told that I'm the problem because I drive a diesel car.
Yeah, I bought a diesel car because I was doing so many miles for combat sports emceeing, and that's how we became friends on Facebook through combat sports. Yeah. Before all this happened, is that right? We were contactable online before Rise Above happened, before 2020 happened, and then that's when you contacted me when I started Rise Above.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I got my diesel car to do all those miles. It was the best thing for the environment. It was the best thing for renewable, sustainable goals. And now
Greta says no.
And now Greta literally says no. Now I'm getting all these insurance companies coming through to me. You own a Mercedes from this year. You can claim in because they lied about the emissions. Diesel cars are the ultimate enemy of the environment. Sugar is bad. Fat is bad. Everyone should smoke. Pure disinformation every time.
Yeah. One more thing before I move on. This is going to take.
Sorry for derailing you there, mate. That's just what I do every time. I've got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, when I was young, I'd say around about the age maybe 13, 14. I used to often sit alone and think to myself that why aren't we just left alone? All of these problems are caused by these people or authorities or talking heads that are standing there pretending to help us. When in actual fact, they cause the problems. I never woke up one day and thought I need a diesel engine. I have a diesel engine because I've got to travel to work. Why do I have to travel to work? Because
I thought diesel was for tractors.
Yeah, it basically just go around problem.
Our opinions are shaped for us at the end of the day. Even those, like everyone that's tuned in, like yourself, like me and Andy, like Word Nerd and Magics, etc., or even all of us guys that know about the Trivium, we apply it day to day without even know what it is. Our opinions are still shaped by these Bernaysian social architects. That's what they are.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest if we were left alone, naturally we would all come to a logical conclusion of the Trivium, Quadrivium, and the 7 liberal arts. There is a direct war against us having the ability to understand and know this because it gives us power. They're taking the power away. Basically, they're giving us, we're given ignorance so that we can just carry on with our sad little lives.
Ignorance is strength, comrade. Shh. The science is settled. Close your mouth, peasant.
Okay, right. I'm gonna move on because I tell you.
Oh, mate. Honestly, everyone is loving this. What are we? 2 hours and 40 minutes in, so we've got another 2 hours 20 minutes. No rush in her Guardians whatsoever. An amazing stream so far. Spoken Word Nerd, are you with us? What are you saying about Lee's presentation so far? Let's have your input.
Sorry, mate. I keep getting kicked. Have you still got me there?
No, you're here. You're in. I kicked you a minute ago because it was just more pleasing to have 3 screens on the thing while you weren't saying anything. What are you saying about what Inner Guardians is presenting so far?
I'm mind blown already, mate. I'm keeping quiet at the moment.
I know you are.
This will solve 100% of your problems. Okay. So the what, the why, the how, and it's done in that order. Okay. If anybody tries to tell you differently, then they're basically. So
let's get that right. What first, why second, and how third?
Yeah.
Shit, I've been teaching it wrong, mate. I thought why came third. I was doing what, how, and then why. I've been teaching the Trivium wrong. Bollocks.
Well, yeah, it's quite important that it's done because you need to establish what it is and then why it is and then how, the solution. The outcome is solutions. We need to return to a solution-based society or reality. Okay, so we're going to move on to what's known as the Quadrivium. It's the 4 classical liberal arts of numbers, geometry, music, and cosmology. Okay, so for those who have any basic understanding of the esoteric or the occult will know about numerology and the importance of that. Also the geometry and music. I'm going to kind of go into the music a bit. This will really interest you, Lance, because basically the whole universe is based on octaves. And for anybody that produces music will understand, obviously, the power and the laws of octaves.
Vibration is everything. The whole universe is a vibration. The whole universe is a musical symphony. You're absolutely right, mate.
Yeah, and then we've got the cosmology. So basically, you got the numbers, you got geometry, you got music, and you got cosmology. Okay, so when the 7 liberal arts is finally gets out, and it's quite hard to find any decent information on this. It's been eradicated, and I've noticed that they're actually deleting it from the internet. So I would suggest try and get as much information on this as you can now, because I would predict in a few years you're not going to be able to get any of this information, especially when the Great Reset comes.
Are you trying to say that this understanding, this knowledge, could actually be completely wiped from our access?
Yeah, it pretty much already has. Now, what I say to people is walk down the street, stop anybody randomly, and say, "Do you know what the Trivium is?" How many?
Because let me just interject. You, I don't know if you told me this. Back in the days of the Roman Empire, the Trivium was taught as a benchmark standard to all soldiers, citizens, centurions of the Roman Empire. Now, obviously, there were many levels below citizenry, including different levels of slaves, plebs, serfs, etc. And if a soldier or a centurion was caught teaching the Trivium to a slave, that was a punishable offense. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, although because it's been buried.
We're paraphrasing. It's history. Who knows if that's true?
I mean, I haven't said a lot tonight. I mean, I will say something on that. From what I can tell, from what you just said, Lance, that the reason, let's take the tarot deck. Okay, the tarot deck, no matter what you believe about it, or what you think about it, the tarot deck is basically a huge book of symbols. Okay, and the reason it had to be, these teachings were put into symbols apart from writings, and it was, encrypted.
It's a way of occulting the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether that's for good or bad, a way of occulting and hiding, encrypting the knowledge.
Encrypting the knowledge so that it can be used for negative purposes, and B, it was, if you got taught teaching this, like you said, to the people who, the controllers didn't.
Let's face it. This is what the Vatican did. This is what the Inquisition was about. This was about removing the ancient occulted knowledge,
Gnosis,
whether it was the
removing true gnosis,
the true Gnostic connection from our physical, mental, spiritual beings to the connective force of our realm, whether you want to call it a sphere, a flat plane, a 3D projection. Those shamans, those mystics, those mothers, as they were called, the mothers of the earth, the wild women of the countryside, they had the knowledge that connected us, that before that connection was severed, we were in a very different state of affairs. And that's essentially what we're talking about here in the Guardians, a severance of our connection to the source.
Well, it's an attack on organic life. That's what it is.
Again, we're back to God Badge. It's about the parasitic attack on the organic life of our realm. That's what we again, it's not the rabbit hole. Tonight we do the whole rabbit. Inner Guardians. Sorry, please continue.
Right, yeah, so any information you find on the 7 liberal arts, it tends to have people tend to think it's something to do with ballet or something, or classical music or whatever. Yeah. When I tend to read it differently. I say it's the arts to liberation. Okay, so that's basically, it liberates you to the level of causation. Okay, we're denied the ability to go to the level of causation because we don't know what we're doing, because we've been miseducated and denied the ability to do that. Now, I would also suggest that everybody already knows this. It's just that it's not in the front of our thinking or understanding.
It's been occulted.
Deep down, we have this. This is in us. It's just that we can't access it because it's been locked. It's been locked up. You would naturally come to this if you were left alone without education. Okay, because it makes sense. It's logical. We're actually being bombarded with illogical fallacies, whether it's, all forms of media, all forms of education is basically illogical fallacies. And we're taught to remember or recite illogical fallacies. We're not taught to critically think. When I displayed any form of critical thinking at school, I was punished. So that kind of says it all. Right, I'm going to move on. So, so you got the 3 and the 4. That gives you the 7. So
7 liberal arts is the Trivium and the Quadrivium combined.
Yeah. So basically, it's the art of liberation, to basically free your mind. And also, I'll make this point because it's very, very important. I talk about personal protection. The greatest form of personal protection that you can ever have is the 7 liberal arts, or the art of liberation, because basically it means that nobody can pull the wool over your eyes. Nobody can bullshit you. Nobody can lead you down a dark alley. Nobody can do harm to you, because you can see it coming, because you have the ability, having some kind of weapon or sword or laser or something like that to cut through, the veil. So this is personal protection at its highest level. Right. Okay. So I'm going to slightly change. Is there any more questions on the seven liberal arts or Trivium?
Well, funny enough, I was just looking through the comments, and someone told me personally to shut up and stop interrupting you because they were enjoying what you were saying so much. And I'm going to be real. I always take criticism directly on the face. Who said that? So, Tom Wilkinson, please let him speak and stop interrupting him. I want to hear what he's got to say. So Lee, honestly,
right? Okay.
Right, hey, if you want to take some questions, I'll say it. Anyone's got a question you want to directly ask Lee to what he's presented so far, Lee from Inner Guardians, please put it on the screen now. We'll give you 30 seconds. Talk about the Trivium, the Quadrivium, and when they unite to make the 7 liberal arts. When you understand this, when you have this built into your level of perception. What did you say to the other day when we were talking? Don't worry about it. You're free. That's what you said to me, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah.
When you have this understanding, you're basically free from the mental prison.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. The thing is, we're tricked. We're coerced into believing that in illogical fallacies. So we're just playing ping pong in the dark room. When in actual fact, we already have all this. It's actually very, very simple. It does require a lot of work because, like for instance, myself, not including the years that I've been in groups, but I'm 54 years old, so potentially that's 54 years of bullshit that I've had to suffer from this so-called reality.
Yeah, we got a first question on the screen, mate. We've got a first question. Sorry to interrupt. Sure. Buddy, who I haven't seen a comment from Buddy. Welcome to Rise Above, Buddy. Is this a similar thinking as Hermeticism? What you're describing as an overall,
yes.
It is, isn't it? The Hermetic principles are the 7 liberal principles. Boom! Big up, Buddy. Yeah. Thank you for your first interjection. You smashed it. Welcome to Rise Above.
Yeah, to be honest, you'll find this in many different forms. Culturally it's slightly different, whatever, but it's basically the same thing. It's innate to humans, but through degradation and devolution, it's not common knowledge. It's not, there's no common sense.
When you say common knowledge, right? Here's a question from Georgie Golden. Common knowledge to the commoners. Is the Quadrivium taught to the elites at Eton, at Harvard, at Yale? This is what Georgie says. Do they teach this to the Etonians? What are you saying, Lee?
Good question. I can't answer, categorically that they're all taught that, but I would say that it's passed on maybe through the families rather than officially through education.
So could
they keep this very tight. They keep it tight.
The initiates may learn this, or the adepts, whether they're a Freemason, whether it's the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Trivium and the Quadrivium would be on the syllabus at some level of this initiation into the ancient esoteric art, shall we call it? Yeah,
but I would say it's more done through the families.
Through the family structure.
Yeah, or an uncle or whatever. There'll be somebody appointed to give this information.
Great question. Thank you, Georgie Golden.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on to. We'll keep coming back around to it because it's the foundation. It's the center of life.
If there are good questions, I'll whack them on the screen for you, mate.
Right. Okay. So
Carry on.
this is going to be a little bit difficult or hard for some people to digest, but nature is indifferent to human life. Okay. So we always assume that nature is kind of is good. Okay. I would suggest that nature is largely indifferent to human life. As an example, you can plant organic and GMO seeds, and they will both grow in nature. Okay, so you could grow something good and something bad. You throw it in the soil, and you could plant them in the soil, and they'll both grow equally. Nature is largely indifferent. Okay, so we need to kind of wake up to this. That just because it's natural doesn't necessarily mean it's good, and nature generally is indifferent because. I would also suggest that the Earth is the neutral aspect of the positive and negative spectrum. So we're living in a kind of indifferent. So what I'm trying to say is, you can, if you want, go out in the street and kill somebody, and nature's not going to stop you. Okay. Equally, you could go out and you could help a homeless person or do something kind, and nature isn't particularly going to help you. It's indifferent. Okay, so once you understand that, and the dark occultists fully understand this, and they exploit this this phenomena. So it's important to understand that. Anyway, so basically, you can be born, live life, and die without any type of interest in spirituality or soul growth. Okay, and plenty of people do that. Nature doesn't demand it. You know, it's not a thing that you have to do. You can be born, live life, and die, and nature doesn't care. Nature has only one concern, that food is provided for the system. Okay, so it doesn't sound like an important point, but as we move on, it will become very, very important. So nature is largely concerned with providing food for the system. Okay, so I spoke about this earlier. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did say it's in the presentation. The denying forces. So nature allows particular forces to work against the rise of humanity, which is the denying force, which is the negative factions. Denying force is a type of resistance. The denying force can be used as friction for the transformation of the soul. Okay, so I'm kind of sitting here saying about the nefarious people, the denying forces, so on and so forth, which we all know about. Okay, but equally, I'm saying that they do have a use. They do have a purpose. Okay, and that purpose is to provide the friction. The problem is they've just taken it kind of a bit too far and they've exploited it. So there's a bit of a large imbalance with regards.
Sorry, Lee, mate. We've got a quick question on the screen from Robert
Sure.
Flame. He's asking, are you Gnostic?
Yes.
There you go. Yes, simple yes.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to move on. Right. So the law of three. So more or less everything in this reality that we know has a law of three, which is a positive, negative, and a neutral. So the positive is the affirming, negative is the denying, the neutral is the reconciling. So I would suggest that planet Earth, or the plane or the realm of Earth, is the neutral, and it's the reconciling. It's where the positive and the negative are at play. Okay, so we're kind of in a game. We're in a playground where there's positive energy, negative energy, and on the Earth, it's neutralized. Because both, like I said, nature is indifferent to negative and positive. What it's actually trying to get is balance and harmony. Okay, so 3 types of food. So you've got physical food that you eat. You've got air, and you've got impressions. Without any of those 3, you cannot live in this realm. Okay, so we need physical food to sustain us. We need to breathe, obviously. Now, the third one is impressions. Now, this is something that most people can't grasp. Impressions are a type of food. So wherever you place your attention or interest, you're actually digesting. So I don't know, if you sit around watching horror movies, that's kind of what you're feeding on. Okay, it doesn't necessarily feed your stomach, but it will feed other parts of your organism. Okay, is there any questions on that, on the types of food?
I think we're all good. There's nothing in the comment section, but we are.
Makes sense,
There is a little 30-second delay, so yeah, just we'll stick them up on the screen if there's any questions. Don't worry.
Sure.
You
Okay.
mean like energetically, you're eating it, you're taking it
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I was taught a skill, which was basically to study Rembrandt. So basically, you stand in front of a Rembrandt self-portrait, and you digest the impression. Now, there's certain impressions that are useful and certain impressions that are not. Now, what made Rembrandt paintings or self-portraits useful is that he was an occultist, and he could put food into his paintings so that you could digest hundreds of years later. And the energy that you receive by appreciating the work that he did, this is a bit of a mind bender, would actually feed him at the time when he's painting it. There's a direct link.
Whoa. Are we talking about something that spans the time-space continuum? What are you trying to say, that someone that views his painting 100 years later, that views the food in his painting, he can feel the sustenance while he... Wait. Is that why he was called an impressionist? Did he invent impressionism? I don't know enough about this to even comprehend these thoughts. Hold on, mate.
Right. Okay. So when some people say, why is this work of art priceless, and why is this work of art worth $1.99 in Poundland or whatever? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the difference is whether it was done by an occultist who was actually inputting data, energetic data, into their art. Now, when anything occulted or esoteric transcends time space, it goes into the causation, the realm of cause and effect. So, as an example, the music that you make today, when you're making it, you get energy, don't you? There's
Sometimes,
you wake up and you've got something. It's like an energy, and then you create art.
When I write, sometimes I really feel that. When Oma plays me like a brand new instrumental, sometimes I just put a pen down and I'll just write a song out straight, maybe without even stopping. That's happened before. Sometimes I almost think it's like automatic writing.
Now, that energy, this is only a suggestion, and it's up to you what you do with it. That energy that you get in the morning when you wake up to compose or create or whatever could potentially be coming from somebody who is appreciating it in 10 years' time.
Whoa. Mate, I've never even considered that before. So the art, something, for instance, most of the tunes that are on my YouTube, I wrote most of that stuff 4 years ago, and most of it is getting listened to now.
Yeah,
you're actually saying that in the past I could have been consuming the energy of people appreciating it in the real time.
Yes, today, yeah. Remember, time is bullshit. Time is
outside of the 3D construct. It's basically meaningless. This is something that anyone that watches this show probably is at least familiar with the concept.
Yeah, basically, you're going into the realms of causation, cause and effect. So people have theories about reincarnation. Personally, I don't think we live on in a linear time scale. I think it's circular. So to understand this concept, you'd have to understand circular time as opposed to linear time.
We've got another good question on the screen that probably relates quite closely to what we're saying. What do you say about mediums who link or use physical objects? I guess and I've seen this, give me something that person wore. Give me a picture of that person. Mate, I've got so many questions. Maybe I'm just jumping in with this one. But do you think there's a link between what you're talking about there and this?
Yeah, basically a medium, they jump up into the level of causation, so they're able to see the future and the past because there's no time. So whether certain mediums are legit or not, that's another story. But those who have, actually, we all have the capability we're all mediums. It's just some are better at it than others. It's largely through.
Most have forgot. Most are unaware.
Yeah, it's because of the sort of the degrading education that we have, and we're told we're nothing. Yeah, we're told we're descendants of monkeys, and we're living on a spinning ball floating through infinite space for no apparent reason.
You're approaching the last hour chat now. Don't talk about the spinning ball unless you're ready to really go down the god bad hole. No, I tell you what, Lee, I've just got to stop you there. Right, we're at the 3 hour mark. We should have taken a break 5 minutes ago. Can I ask how much of that? What percentage are we through the presentation? Halfway
Probably,
through? 3/4?
Halfway.
Perfect. Right. We're going to have a 3 minute break. Very quick.
Sure.
One tune.
Yeah.
Lee, don't go anywhere. You've got a time. Hit the toilet. Take a breath of fresh air. Anyone that's watching, this is right. I'm going to kick Inner Guardians out. We've got to have breaks that's so long. We're going to continue with the presentation. After that, we're going to open the floor to a proper level of questioning from this absolute amazing level of insight which Inner Guardians is providing.